Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys Script Club. A script club, like a book club, but for scripts. Yeah. You could, as ever, please listen to me enthused, because I really want to. I always really want to. But you could instead just go straight to the script link in the description. This time, the film 500 Days of Summer by Scott Neustadter and Michael H. Weber, with the 500 in digits. Digits and brackets, for no particular reason that I know, but it looks good. You know, it kind of catches the eye. It caught my eye even really on the page and the script, and that might well be the reason I read it first. I read it before seeing the film. I can't remember how this came about now. It's quite a few years ago, but I got to read the script before the film was released. I distinctly remember relishing it as I read it on the page. Then, all right, again, I can't remember how this happened, but then I would still have been writing for Radio Times magazine, and somehow through that I got to see an early press screening of the movie a few weeks, couple of months maybe after I read the script. Well, you see anything, I'll just tell you. At that time, it wasn't a great time. At that point, I mean, you're right, you know, it's like up and down. But I so distinctly remember leaving that screening feeling happy. Then the reviews came in. Reviews came in after the general release, 2-3 weeks after that. Overall, they're kind of mostly good, but there were criticisms that I don't know that I agreed with them then. I don't know what I think of them now necessarily, but they made some interesting points that I hadn't considered. And even if I'd considered them and rejected them, I think I probably should have considered them. I mean, right, it's not like, you know, a cinema goer's job to consider points about a film they've just watched. It's got to be. What else can it be other than they enjoyed it or they didn't enjoy it? You know, as writers, though, I think the issues here are interesting. I think 500 Days of Summer, right, is about a man called Tom and a woman called Summer. Yeah, her name does feel contrived, and the title of the film seems contrived to fit that, but you know, give it credit. The contrivance of the writers continues right to the end of the movie, where the final lines, possibly actually the very final line itself, is a closing gag that kind of turns on her name. Anyway, Tom falls for Summer, and the film is about their being together and about their not being together. I did just very carefully say that Tom falls for Summer. I did not say that Summer falls for Tom. I mean, incredibly often, right, in a romantic comedy, and I love these films, it's extremely obvious what the man sees in the woman, and extremely impossible to imagine what in the world does she see in him. It's just like, you know, film logic as written by men of a certain age, maybe, and film logic where a woman could be, as that term, the manic pixie girl, you know, impossible energy, impossibly sexy. You'd want to be her, but no real human being is remotely like that. And also, she still has to somehow be drawn to the lead male character, who often has no energy and is not remotely sexy. And you do not want to be him. There's an argument that is what happens here in 500 Days in Summer, or what is a little bit explored here. Tom actually is attractive enough, likable enough, sexy enough, but the film is his. It is his story about falling for her. It's not her story. And the criticisms of the film chiefly surround this. Not so much because there is a question of how believable either character is. I think that does work. But around specifically why Summer does get together with Tom. Is she just using him? Is she actually being cruel, toying with him when he is clearly so deeply infatuated with her? That is what some critics wanted to know at the time, and what I want to know is whether they would have had the same problems if the roles were reversed, so to speak. I'm not saying I know the answer, although I think now that maybe I'm actually just fine with not having thought of that particular criticism in that particular way in this particular film. For you and me, though, as writers, there is this issue of what we put into characters, and then later what the actors put in them as well, contrasted always with what the audience brings along for the ride. The biases and prejudices that we all have. The biases and prejudices examined in a film that does not answer, or does it even really address any of this? It just is. Here it is. The trick of 500 Days of Summer, though, is that it's not told in sequence. Those 500 days are not consecutive. Well, I mean, they are, but we don't see them in the right order. We also don't see 500 of them, which is probably a relief, because that would be rather a long film. What we see is how, it seems to me, time is the only difference between the depths of joy and the pit of despair. Did I mean the heights of joy? The contrast between the two is the thing. That's what this film is really about, what it uses the most. And the best example for why I think this is so, there's a musical number in the middle of it, and it's brilliant. As much as I enjoyed reading the script on the page, in the final form there is this full-on musical segment, a totally joyous scene that specifically, because of this moving back and forth in time, starts in a way that's somehow extra uplifting, but then definitely slams to a halt in a really effective way. 500 Days of Summer. When I first read the script, actually when I was first reading it, was one of those being posted online by the studio because of hoping to get some awards, for your consideration. And then after awards season, it was taken down, but then it had reappeared again. It was circulated here, it was examined, whatever. All these years on, the film was 2006, I certainly remember, or 2006 or so, there is a copy of the screenplay, and it seems to be behaving itself and not vanishing every other week like so many film scripts do. There's a link to that copy of it in the description. Now, thank you for watching. I hope you read and I hope you enjoy 500 Days of Summer. But most importantly, take care of yourself. Read more, yes, but you're a writer. Also, we need to write more. I am projecting a bit here. And I'll see you soon.